Chapter 3. Sam pulled the truck up to a small rambler with peeling beige paint and a lawn in need of serious maintenance. Brent glanced at her out of the corner of his eye as he exited the vehicle. For as knowledgeable as she appeared about cars, she must not be much of a home maintenance expert. Neither was he, but that's why he had a penthouse apartment. No yard to worry about. He followed her up 2 creaking porch steps that sagged under his weight. How had she never fixed these? They felt as if they'd succumb any day. She shoved the key in the lock and turned his direction, indecision flooding her eyes. He knew she didn't want him here, but he didn't want to be here either. He wanted to be in the peaceful cabin, ignoring the press and contemplating his future. He had made the majority of his money playing the Night Ranger, but it was getting old, and he wanted something that showed off his talent more. The only problem was, he didn't know what that was. The front door swung open, and Brent followed Sam into the simple living room. 2 chairs and a couch, mismatched as if they came from Goodwill or the nearest garage sale, sat in the middle of the room. A scratched coffee table was situated in the center of them, cluttered with paper. But it was the 3 full bookshelves that garnered most of his attention. He loved reading, but he rarely met people who read more than their scripts these days, and even fewer owned a book. Those who did read didn't use paperback books anymore. They downloaded them to their Kindle or other device. But Sam evidently had a penchant for the real thing. He found his opinion of her shifting. Anyone who still enjoyed a paperback had to have some redeeming qualities. Perhaps she was worth getting to know better. He wanted to peruse her shelves to see what she liked to read, but she spoke, diverting his attention first. "The kitchen and dining room are here." She pointed to the right. "Use what you want, but the cupboards are bare. The market is on Willow Street, and you can walk there. There's also a few restaurants, Marnie's on Madison, Ernesto's, and a few others, but they're farther in town." She turned left down a narrow hallway, and Brent followed, his head spinning from the unfamiliar names she was spouting. The hallway walls were plain, white, and barren of pictures and personality. How long had she lived here? At the end of the hallway it split, and she headed left again, opening a door to a bedroom. "This is the guest room. You can stay here. It's not much, though." Solid blue colors decorated the simple room. A full-size bed, dresser, and desk were the only furniture pieces, but it was better than no room. "The bathroom is down the hall. I have my own, so we don't have to share. There's a towel on the rack you can use and extras in the hall closet across from it. My room is there." She pointed to the closed door at the other end of the hall. "And it's off limits." His eyebrow arched at the thought of invading her room. Clearly, she didn't know his type. Blonde and chesty was what he preferred, at least after Rachel, not sassy and grungy. "I doubt you need to worry about that. My goal is to relax while I'm waiting for the part and then leave as soon as possible." "Fine. I'll leave you to it then. I'm going back to the shop to inspect your car and order your part." "Wait, do you get cell service here? Or do you have a phone, just in case?" She raised an eyebrow at him. "Yes, you can get cell service here. We aren't that backward. And there's a phone in the kitchen if you need to use the landline." Without another word, she spun and left him blinking in the hallway. He shook his head as he entered the guest room. While he appreciated the bed, her hospitality left a lot to be desired. Why did she seem to hate him so much? Granted, he had made a sexist comment when he first met her, which he should apologize for, but her reaction seemed more intense than the comment called for. Was he giving off an unintentional vibe? he'd have to watch himself and see. After tossing his bags on the bed, he opened his travel bag and pulled out the latest script. It was another Night Ranger movie. With a sigh, he sat on the bed and began reading. He only made it 5 pages before he tossed the script aside. Just like the last 4 movies, it was nonsense and drivel, covered up with a lot of action and shirtless scenes. With a growl of frustration, he raked a hand through his dark brown hair and down his stubbled chin. He needed a shave and a shower. Perhaps the warm water would invigorate his senses and allow him to see it in a different light. He rummaged in his bag for his travel kit. With it in hand, he walked down the hallway and flicked on the bathroom light, revealing 1 sink, a toilet, and a bathtub. A blue hand towel hung near the sink, and a matching larger one adorned a rack near the shower. The whole bathroom was smaller than most of his closets back home. He placed his bag on the small counter housing the sink and removed his razor and soap, putting them on the shower shelf. Then he stepped into the tub, pulling the curtain closed before turning on the faucets. The warm water pelted his back, but he didn't mind. Brown trails streamed down his chest and swirled into the drain below. The dirt washing off felt good after his long walk into town. When he finished the shower, he wrapped the towel around his waist, gathered his clothes and bag, and headed back to the room. He pulled on a pair of cargo shorts, foregoing the shirt for now, and resumed his position on the bed. Script in hand, he continued reading. But it was no use. Freshly showered or not, the script was still awful. With a sigh, he dropped the script once more, grabbed a shirt, and decided to check out the rest of the house and the town. He would have to call Julia later and tell her to start looking for something else, or else he would need a career change. The fridge was as empty as Sam claimed. A bottle of ketchup, mustard, and a half-empty milk carton were the only things on the shelves. A look in the cupboard revealed a few spices, Pop-Tarts, and a few boxes of cereal. This woman was clearly not a cook. He shut the cupboards and patted his pocket to make sure he had his wallet before heading to the front door, where he paused momentarily as he debated whether to lock the door or not. Since Sam had left him with no key and no return time, he opted to leave the door unlocked. He didn't plan to be gone long, and the town seemed relatively safe. He headed north, trying to remember Sam's directions, and took a left on Willow Street. Soon a market, sharing lot space with a gas station, came into view. The small shop was not his normal fare, but with a resigned sigh, he entered the store, grabbing a basket from a stack near the door. Brent couldn't remember the last time he had been in a grocery store. Back in Houston, he had an assistant who shopped for him, and if he needed something while she was gone, he simply ordered it online and had it delivered. The small store only held a handful of aisles, and after filling the plastic basket with meat, fruits, and vegetables, he checked out and retraced his steps back to Sam's place. Back in her kitchen, he unpacked the groceries before inspecting the rest of the house. He was curious about this woman and headed to her bookshelves first. Classics ranging from Wuthering Heights to Moby Dick filled several of the shelves. He hadn't taken her for a reader of books of old. A few self-help books were interspersed on the shelves, mainly on dealing with loss and rejection. Could that explain her emotional walls? Turning from the bookshelves, he scanned the area, but no pictures hung in the living room either. Where were her photographs? Her art? His eyes landed on the messy coffee table, and he perched in the nearest chair, picking up the papers and scanning them. Words and art were scrawled across them. Had he stumbled across her journal? A closer look revealed not a journal, but a verse across the top, followed by her thoughts and applications for it. Devotionals. These were her devotionals. He hadn't picked up a religious vibe from her, but then not everyone screamed their religion. Rachel never had either. She had just had this quiet peace about her, a welcoming countenance, and a kind word for everyone she met. The papers fell from his hand as the image of Rachel flooded his mind. Focusing on Rachel would only make him sad.